Today we're going to be looking at immigration. So we're going to be having a chat, conversation on immigration. So the first question here is, why do people migrate to other countries?
No, I don't. Right.
No. This is not. It doesn't relate to this.
Just.
I made a question. Yeah, just answer. You can even close this book.
Why do you think people immigrate to other countries? There is many reasons why people immigrate to another country, and
so tell me like three or four.
Okay. The first reason is like civil war or war, like in Myanmar.
Okay.
Like so they want to move to safety place.
Safety countries. Yeah. Right.
Like here. And next reason is because of financial problem. For example, in Philippines, and are very like the price of goods is different with Korea. So they want to, the rich of Philippines want to come
to Korea.
Yes.
Korea is like their heaven.
Yeah, best country.
Yeah, best country in Asia. Yeah, to spend and live right and live comfortably, right?
Yes.
I see.
And then the third reason is because of family.
Okay.
Like there is someone's one people is living in Philippines, but his family is in Canada, so they immigrate to Canada.
Okay. Family influence. Maybe the father got a job in Canada, and then his wife and children had to move to Canada to join him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the last one.
Okay, last one. It can be just they want to move to another country because they love their country for real.
They love the other country, or
Yes.
they love their country?
They love the other country.
Okay.
So they move to another country.
Okay.
And live in there.
Great points. The points you gave are very valid points. So one or 2 points I'm gonna add is education. A lot of people prefer to study. For example, the educational system in Korea is quite good and very high, right?
Yes.
But most parents think their children go through a lot of stress studying here, so thereby they try to move them to another country to study, maybe to the US or Canada, to study. So education is also one of the reasons why people migrate. And sometimes when Korean people go to study abroad, after study they want to live there. Because they've viewed the differences between the two countries, right? And they want to just stay there. Like my kid sister was in Canada last month, and he said when he came into Toronto airport, he saw a Korean national at the immigration. She saw Korean national, she saw an American, she saw blacks, Africans, she saw everyone, different race, right, working in the immigration service of, so when you find yourself in such country, it's like a diverse cultural, multicultural country, like Canada, you feel so much more comfortable, living there, okay, or working there. So sometimes when people go there to study, they get a job and then they don't want to come back home. Right? And then the last one is marriage, dating, relationship, marriage. Yes,
Really?
Of course. Nowadays, a lot of Korean men choose to get married to Mongolians
Oh, really?
and Filipinos. Yeah. because they think that the Korean women are super expensive to maintain.
No.
Yeah, they think Korean women, you need a lot of money to be able to date Korean women. And because of the Korean culture of marriage, before a man gets married, you have to own an apartment. You have to buy an apartment. So it puts the young men on a very stressful situation. If they don't have money to buy an apartment, getting married is quite difficult for them. So nowadays, a lot of young Korean men prefer to get married to Filipinos and Mongolian women, or even from China, just to ease off the stress of spending a lot of money. Yeah. So because of that, they are not just only Korea, even Japan, even Malaysia, even America. Some American women also want to get married to Korean men. Some Korean women want to get married to American men. So it's intercultural marriage situation, all right? So it's also one of the reasons why people migrate to a different country. Let's say, for example, a Korean man finds a Mongolian woman attractive to get married to. Do you think the Korean man would move to Mongolia to live with the woman? No. The woman would move here to live. Why? Because the living system, the environment and the living condition is much better in Korea compared to Mongolia. Yeah. And also the man would probably earn more money here than Mongolia. So that would attract a new immigrant into Korea. So the next question is, do you have a plan to live abroad?
Me?
Personally. Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
Have you ever thought of that? Like, have you ever had such goal? Like, maybe in the near future, I don't want to live here, I just want to live somewhere else.
I have been to Canada when I was in when I was 13 or 14.
Okay.
For studying English.
Yeah, studying English.
I loved Canada.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Tell me, why did you love it? Why did you like Canada?
I was in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and after I see Niagara waterfall,
Mm-hmm.
I really attracted to Canada.
Okay.
I love their meat.
Mm.
Canada's meat is very tasty.
Canadian meat is very tasty.
Yeah.
Very delicious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And desserts, I love it.
Okay. So, do you have a plan sometime in the future to
Yes,
move?
I'm positive.
Positive on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I experienced a lot of positive things in Canada.
In Canada, okay,
Yes.
okay. And then, what if it's not Canada? Is there any country you might consider living aside Canada?
Not Asian.
No. Outside of Asia, somewhere outside, in a different continent. Yeah.
Different continent.
Yes.
Different continent. Just USA and Canada. No.
No other.
Yes, no other.
Australia, no. New Zealand.
I don't know exactly about other country like New Zealand or Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
So you know about America and Canada.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's. How about Asian country? If you don't find yourself living in Korea, what other Asian country would you consider living in?
I don't like Asian country, except Korea.
Except Korea.
Yes.
But nowadays, there's an Asian country that has been it's been like chasing Korea.
Chasing Korea.
So much. What is it called? What is this country?
Like cheating Korea.
In development, and a lot of Koreans travel there too.
But I don't like China is better.
No, not China. Not China. I mean, in positivity, the environment, the air, everything is much better than
Oh.
China. What is this country?
Oh, really?
Uh, but the cost of living there is very expensive. They speak English too.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Like, like I love Iceland, but not Japan.
Oh, you don't like Japan.
Yes.
So rather than live in Japan, you prefer to live in China.
No, that's not because I also hate China.
Why?
Because they make micro what's it micro dust.
Uh-uh.
Yes, and that makes me very bad. And they also um like I don't know the word, like they fix their history.
Uh.
Like they say Korea's kimchi is theirs. All of like
Yeah, because Korea was highly influenced by the Chinese,
yes.
even in the language, and everything. So sometimes they think they own Korea, the Chinese people, in their attitude, how they behave. Yeah. So the two countries I was talking about is Singapore and Dubai.
Oh, Dubai. Oh. Singapore and
UAE.
Dubai.
Yeah. Singapore in the recent time has really developed, has evolved. I heard Singapore is the streets in Singapore is like heaven.
Oh, really?
I heard, yeah,
Oh,
from
why?
people who there are no debts. You can't find anything on the street. The streets
Oh.
are sparkling clean, and the air is beautiful. The people are nice, but cost of living in Singapore is extremely outrageous, very high. Everything is expensive.
I would consider there.
Yeah, but they are developing super well in business and everything. And another country that is developing really high is United Arab Emirates, Dubai. I'll be looking at maybe tripping to Dubai this Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't spend Christmas in Korea. Not anymore, not anymore. Not anymore. Last year Christmas was super boring here.
Really?
No, Christmas is not. Christmas, oh my god, no. How many times have I spent Christmas? Maybe just twice. Since 7 years I've been living in Korea.
Oh, really?
I've only spent Christmas twice here, and no. It's even much better in Seoul, without when there was no corona, it was much better in Seoul. Yeah, people could go out to Itaewon or Myeongdong or Hyundai and party around, meet people, club, have a good time. But Chawan with Corona Christmas,
No.
no. Okay. So do you know any foreign immigrants? Like apart from the teachers that you met, do you have any foreign immigrant friends?
Friends?
Maybe on your Facebook, Instagram, anywhere?
Not there, but on real.
Oh, real?
In our school, Hana Middle School.
There's a foreigner there?
Yes, Russian.
Oh, really?
Russian friends.
Interesting.
They
He was born in Korea?
no in Russia.
He was born in Russia, but his family lives here.
Yes.
How does he study? Because everything is taught in Korean.
But I think he use English. He can use English, so he can communicate with me.
I know, what I mean is how does he cope with the learning system? Because everything in school is taught in Korean, right?
Yes, that's right. But he lived a long year in Korea.
In Korea, okay. So he can speak
Little bit.
good enough to write tests and
Not that
exam?
much. Not that much, but that's he can hear what we say.
Oh, basically. Okay. So maybe it would be fun, if you're an outgoing person, it would be fun to make social media friends, foreigners. You know, maybe you could just type in people living in Canada on your Facebook, and you will see a lot of people living in Canada. So you could just scroll up and find people you might like. Just click on add. They might accept, and you build friendship.
But I don't use Facebook or
You don't use Facebook.
yes,
Why?
because
Distraction.
this this interrupts my
Your study.
yes my
Right,
studies.
right. Yeah, that's distraction. It disrupts your study.
Yes.
Right. Okay. The next question is, do you think that immigrants are treated well in most countries of the world? Let's not talk about Korea first. We're gonna talk about Korea later. let's talk about U.S. for example, with the recent trend. You know, I think maybe you watch the news with the killings,
Oh yeah.
the Asian killings, and the
Yes.
the racism and all whatnot. Do you think immigrants are treated well all around the world?
Mm. What is it?
Like, are they treated like? Do people treat
Yes.
treat immigrants
Yes.
very well in most countries?
Oh, no, because especially USA,
Mm.
I saw many news about racism.
Mm.
One white woman like killed taxi driver, and that's so cruel.
Mm.
And this doesn't make sense. Immigrants
Mm.
all over the world
Mm.
almost get racism. Almost stressed out with racism. Almost stressed
Mm.
with racism.
Right. It's like a global problem. So how about in Korea? Do you think Koreans treat immigrants well?
Very, very good.
Really?
No? No? Why are you laughing?
You think Koreans treat immigrants really good?
Wait a minute. Yes, I. No, I'm playing with my Russian friends and other friends.
I mean, no.
What?
It could be like on a personal basis. You know, let's not generalize. I mean, like you mentioned in the U.S., for example, the recent killings of Asian people in U.S. is not really. It wasn't really targeted to South Koreans, but the problem is, you know, if you live outside of, like, you are Korean, for example, it's going to be a little difficult for you to distinguish between a Black American and African. It will be a little difficult. So that's what is happening in the U.S. So the Americans are very much against the Chinese.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that fight, the racist fight, is really geared at the Chinese, not Koreans. But you know, sometimes when Korean people come out, they can't distinguish that this is a Chinese and Korean. So everyone, all the Asian countries are being affected. You know, I heard they even killed a Korean person too in the riot and all of that. So the matter of treating immigrants properly or treating them well in different countries of the world is a global issue. You know, it cuts across not only racism. Racism is there, okay, and then segregation. Segregation means everyone is not included in what's happening in the country. For example, in Korea, foreigners don't have a place here.
What place?
Like, for example, in a workplace, like,
Workplace.
like in this company, for example, in PJ, for the foreigners, Koreans have meeting. The foreigners don't join in the meeting.
Oh really?
Yes. Koreans, everything they make plan. The foreigners they just give us order on what to follow. We are not informed, we are not included in the system.
Really?
Yes. And it's like that in every organization in Korea. Even when a foreigner is more smart than a Korean person, the Korean company uses Korean to put on top of the foreigner. This is the system in Korea.
Is this the criticism of PJ?
Not only PJ,
Not
it's
only PJ, but
everywhere in Korea.
everywhere in Korea. Wow.
I'm a foreigner, I'm going to tell you.
Wow.
Even when the Korean, like for example, you had a perfect score. If it's in UK, for example, or in America or in Canada, if you graduate, you can become a boss to a Canadian company, and you can be a boss to a Canadian. But in Korea, never. You see, so sometimes it's not really because of racism.
Yes.
There are so many things involved. One of the major factors involved is Korean has a closed blood system where Koreans don't like their genealogy to be broken. Koreans I don't know how to say it. One of the reasons why it's pretty difficult for a foreigner to just get married to Korean.
No.
Because they have a closed blood system. So Koreans feel a foreigner who doesn't have like a well-grounded Korean culture and language capacity cannot be accepted into the system. So everything is like closed system.
Just in Korean.
Just for Koreans. Koreans are for Koreans. And most times, if I have a fight with you, for example, and we have to report to somewhere, a Korean, any higher authority will understand you much better than me. This is how it works in Korea. This is how it works. So, oftentimes, foreigners find it very difficult to survive here. I made a down payment for my apartment where I lived, and then my landowner took a loan from the bank. And yes, the owner of the apartment in Gine, she got a loan from the bank, and she couldn't pay the bank back. And the bank got the property and foreclosed the property. Foreclosed means the bank sold the property. You know, that's the house I was living in.
Oh, really?
So I didn't know. So they sold it. The new owner they sold the property to came and told me to move out.
Wow.
And then I said, give me back the down payment I had in the house. And they said, no. They can't give it to me back. I should go to court.
Oh. Did you?
How can I go to court?
Oh.
So I forfeited the money.
Oh, really?
Yes, and moved. Really?
That's so sad.
Very sad. So even when I tried to consult some lawyers, they told me in Korean law, if your landowner cannot pay her debt, then the debt is cancelled. My key money is cancelled in the debt.
Oh.
So if the bank had to sell the property, then my money is gone. So it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really.
It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me, you know. So that's how it is. So in that situation, when I wanted to really fight, a Korean man told me, just forget it, just move on with your life. And I took that because maybe if I chase them, if I go to court, maybe court might be sitting at the same time I have to teach in PJ. What can I do? I have to forfeit my job to go to court. And at the end of the day, maybe they will still ask me to move out because the house doesn't belong to me. I'm just paying rent. So that's how the system works. So even though the aim is not racism, but there are so many things involved. Okay? There's like, there are a lot of things involved. A lot of things involved. So although Korean people are nice, when it has to do with foreigners, if Korean has been one of the best countries I've been to that knows how to want to help. They try to help foreigners when foreigners are in need. Like for example, if you meet a random Korean person on the street and ask them for help, they just want to help you right away. In Germany, and they don't. When I went to trip in Germany, I had to ask over 7 people just to help me call someone. They said, no. But in Korea, they will help. They will help you to call, especially if they know you are a foreigner that you don't have. So there are pros and cons too. We mentioned the US, for example. America is a multi-racial country.
Yes.
Super multiracial country. Even the white people that claims that they are Americans are not original Americans. Original Americans are red Indians. The original American dwellers are red Indians. They migrated from India. That's the original Americans. So the white Caucasians that think, oh, US belongs to us, it's not even theirs. That's why it's called United States of America. It's a United States, unity of so many states coming together to be one. All right. So that's what it is. So racism is there, segregation is there, culture is there to limit people, and so many things. Okay. And then, do you think there's a relationship between immigration and crime?
Relation
and crime.
between.
Yeah. What is the relationship between immigration and crime?
Crime. Crime. Oh, yes. The news which I saw, like that situation, they killed someone because just they were immigrant of Korean. So it is very related with crime.
Crime, right? I think so too. I accept that. Immigration has high relationship with crime. Yeah, it does. And then, should any government limit the number of immigrants entering their country?
Limit.
Before we answer that, do you know how many immigrants lives in Korea?
Live.
That
Common Koreans.
No, not like who are currently living in South Korea are immigrants.
I think like maybe 2,000
2,000
immigrants.
What is the population of South Korea?
Wait a minute.
What is Korean population?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 zeros and 5.
The population of Korea.
Yes.
That's 50 million people.
Yes, it's 50 million.
50 million people.
Yes.
And out of 50 million, how many foreigners?
Like not that much, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,000 times 100 and 1,000. 100,000.
100,000 foreigners?
Yes.
No.
More?
2.6 million foreigners living.
2.6 million?
Yes.
Korean population is
50 million. And then 2,600,000 people live in Korea. Foreign. Check.
Oh really?
Ask neighbor.
That's crazy.
Ask. Let's see.
Oh. Mm. That's too much. Like,
Really?
yes.
Okay. You said it's too much. Now check neighbor first, and then let's compare that number with Canada.
I can found.
No, it's there. You can find it.
Really?
Why not? How many immigrants lives in?
I can find.
Wait. Lives in South Korea.
25 times the population.
Around 2.6%
2.6%
of the population.
population. 2.6.
In South Korea. It was showing me something. Yes. Wow, they even broke it down. 230,000
200.
illegal immigrants.
Illegal. Illegal. That was fake.
230,000 illegal immigrants. Oh my god.
Almost.
What did I say? I saw yesterday. No, Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Fake news. Don't worry, we're almost done. Statistics. I saw yesterday around 2.6 million people.
Wow.
Yeah, lives here.
I think that's very.
That's not too many compared to other countries. Even Japan has way more than that. If we go outside of Asia, for example, if we talk about my fault. How many immigrants? Not illegal. Oh, what?
Oh, nationality of immigrants. Oh wow. Oh.
2,554,656.
That means if we saw 25 people and one is immigrant.
No.
But percent.
Is that what it is?
No percent.
A percentage.
Yes, percentage. Yes.
Korean population is 50 million, not 5 million. 50 million.
Oh.
Out of 25,000 people, one Korean foreigner.
That's small. I'm weak at counting.
That's what it is, yeah. So we have a lot of, not a lot of immigrants in Korea. And this was in 2019, actually. So that's what it is. So let's take a look at how many immigrants live in Canada.
Live in Canada. Is Canada
In Canada, every month, 300,000 immigrants come to Canada.
every month?
Every month.
In Korea, there's two point.
And in Korea, it's just 2.5. So you can imagine. So in 1 year, over 2.5 million people moved to Canada.
Wow.
In 1 year. And then count that in 10 years. So Canada lost the statistics of immigrants. How many people who are immigrants? Because the more people move into Canada, the more people move into Canada. It says amount of around 300,000 new immigrants, one of the highest rates per population of any country in the world. And then people who has permanent residence in Canada, who has they've got Canadian permanent residence, is over 8 million people.
8 million people.
Has Canadian residence. But in Korea, people who has permanent residence, foreigners, not up to 100, not up to very few.
Yes.
Very few.
That's really few.
Very few. I even applied for permanent residence. They rejected. They said, and then I should study Korean until 6th grade. Holy oil. I gave up. I gave up, Chincha. I studied until 3rd grade. I gave up.
Wow. Is that difficult?
It is difficult.
Korean?
Is it difficult to study English?
Yes.
Of course, it's also difficult. 6th grade is like, I will be in the same level with you. Really?
But you,
Is it possible? Never. Never. I think, what's his name? The Canadian guy.
Talia?
No.
Or
The boy.
Asian teacher.
The boy.
Boy?
The Canadian boy that is in primaries now.
Oh really? Primary?
He used to be here, and then he quit when Aisha teacher came.
And came back.
Then he came back and he went to primary. What's his name?
I don't know. I don't know the Canada. I don't know security.
Do you know the foreign teacher in primary?
No, I don't know.
You don't know him?
Yes, I started at higher elite.
You know him. He's been here, I think he's been here for 2 years or something. So he's really studying hard for that. So, okay.
Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Yeah,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan is Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Where is he from? Isn't he Canadian?
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I know him Chinese. No?
Ryan is Chinese?
I don't know exactly, but
I don't know too.
Oh,
I don't think he was Canadian. I don't know. I'm not sure. So is local culture threatened by immigration? Do you think when there is a lot of immigrants in a country, their local culture is threatened?
not Korea, because before you said one time Korea was
Korea, yeah.
as Korea is.
Yeah, Korea can never be broken.
Yeah.
The local culture in Korea is still
Remains.
strong. If Koreans rather makes immigrants join and accept the Korean culture and keep all the Korean culture rather than embrace the foreign culture.
Wow.
Korean people. Like even in a restaurant, you have to turn your spoons upside down.
Yeah.
The first time I went out to eat with Korean, oh my god, they got really bad. No, you don't do that. You have to put the spoon up. If you face it down, it means someone have died. Oh! Superstitious belief.
Yeah.
You know, you must take off your shoes. You must bow to say annyeonghaseyo. You must, you know, Korean people push foreigners, immigrants, to accept the Korean culture.
This is right.
This is the truth. That's not how to say it. You have to be polite. Be polite. so I don't think Western culture can affect Korea.
Yes.
It might really affect a little bit, but not the deep-rooted culture. If that might happen, maybe in the next 500 years, not in the recent time. Okay, so that's where we have to finish today.
No.
I say.
Finish.
So, conversation.
What is second class? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Me too. I think.